My husband is my boss. My husband is number one. If my husband tells me, hey, sit down, I'll sit down. If he tells me you can't go out with your friends today, I'm not going to go out with my friends. If he says, hey, go wash this dish for me, I'm going to go wash the dish for him. I chose this man to be the king of my life, and yes, I agree with everything he says, and I do everything he says. And I did that because I chose this man. I put him in this position of my life, and this is how I honor and take care of and love the man in my life. So I tell women out there, you want a man in your life, you want to be happy, figure out what you would do when you are happy. Because I am happy. My husband does so many great things for me. And I would do that for him. I obey him, I respect him, and I let him be the man that he is. I chose a man that I wanted to follow. I chose someone to lead me, and that's why I will do anything for him. If he tells me jump, I'll jump. If he tells me sit down, I'll sit down. If he tells me go in the room or go up on stage, I will do either or. Anyways, that's a message for everyone out there. Love and cherish the king in your life.
This video right here is her perspective, or what a lot of people are using to communicate what submissiveness looks like. And what I'm going to say is my personal perspective. I've been seeing a lot of women rebelling against this logic or this approach to the woman's role in the relationship. But I'm not going to attack this woman, because if this is how she feels, then she deserves a partner that has that same logic to how a relationship should work. And then that's fine. You know, you should have whatever you desire in the way that you desire it, and that can only be provided for you if the other person has that same perspective on life. So there's nothing wrong with her perspective. However, this is going to be on a platform that's going to be absorbed and consumed by different mindsets, different cultures, different religions, different societal norms. So the way we perceive what she is saying is going to fall upon our ears in a different way. So as an American woman, I'm going to tell you guys my thoughts. The first point is that I thought it was beautiful how she was able to communicate her level of releasing control and finding joy in it. And I thought the way she captured her logic behind completely offering herself to her male counterpart, the king in her life, I thought was absolutely beautiful and just amazing to see her have reached a level of totally, offering herself. And I had to respect the fact that the culture that I represent has not instilled that in our community, so it looks a lot different. And a person with her perspective would view someone that grew up in an American setting as being very rebellious and combative and so on and so forth. And a lot of people here would view everything she says as not having her own mind and not having an identity and all of these things. But it takes a lot of courage to do either thing. It takes a person to support their perspective with their whole heart and mind to do either. And I believe a woman like this has to have that instilled in her from a very young age. And there's nothing wrong with that, But when you have someone that has grown up with a difference in perspective since childhood, expecting someone to have her type of perspective is a little unrealistic. In our society, you have people that have been brought up with different levels of introduction to traditional values. Some people were completely immersed in it and marinated in it. Some people had touches here and there. Some people didn't have it at all. And then there's some people that have a totally opposite point of view because they come from a different culture and a different religion. So there's lots of opposing opinions to her logic, but that doesn't make our view wrong and it doesn't make her view wrong. But when you look at what works, her dynamic would probably be more successful simply for the fact that it's a situation that's not too many cooks. And I mean like too many cooks in the kitchen, meaning too many competing egos. And you don't have to worry about that when someone is not fighting for the lead role. So I get that. I get why it makes sense to view things with her logic. However, we're not dealing with majority of women having her logic and having her level of contentment within that logic. We're dealing with American women, and American women have been exposed to options, have been exposed to differences of opinion, has been exposed to taking care of themselves, has been exposed to other joyous events outside of offering themselves up to their male counterpart. They've been offered other things that give happiness and euphoria and dopamine other than dedicating yourself to that end. And that makes our society look completely different than what it's intended for. And I think a lot of us miss the purpose behind us being here and being able to get married and reproduce. America has drifted from our ultimate purpose, whereas other cultures tend to still have that in the forefront of their minds when it comes to keeping the family solid and on a foundation that allows the children to blossom and be productive. And I think we've lost that because of this very difference right here. For us, watching this video in a lot of ways is a triggering thing to watch, because when we watch the video, we absorb it as boss, agree with everything that he says, obey, jump when he say jump. And the defensiveness kicks in because all she's hearing is ways that she cannot, or ways that she is limited, or perceives herself to be shrinking. And that's the priority in that moment, that we're wanting to rage against those things being said. And we miss the things that she is saying to drive those points home, like, I chose him and the king of my life, I trust him to lead. And when you're a person that lives your life speaking those things out loud, you tend to embody something. And basically, those words and those phrases look like something. And for us, we haven't been taught what saying those things looks like. The king of my life, and I trust him to lead. I want him to lead. They're beautiful words, but we don't really know what that looks like. And I think a lot of women, when they get married and they see that it looks like something in specific, we feel bogged down by it. So I'm not saying that women are wrong for wanting something different, but what I'm trying to communicate to society is we open the doors for women to want different things. And we created a society that is always a variation of different things, or a variety of different things. And each woman is going to look different. Her version of traditionalism, her version of stay at home mom is going to look different because our society is not consistent with what that looks like for women. It's still consistent with what that looks like for a man. But the vision or the picture that's been painted for women consistently evolves and it keeps changing. And that's why a woman can look at this type of logic and think it's old school, because it is from her perspective. Her peers are not being taught this anymore. She's not being taught this anymore. So the priorities are changing, which means that if we don't want it to change, then we have to resume traditional behavior and go back to teaching that to our children. Or we need to accept the change and we have to adapt to it. And for American women, I believe she is right. If you chose that man, you should have chosen a man that you are willing to listen to. Submission is easier that way. If you chose a man that you don't agree with, you're likely to rebel against him. That's just a logical thing. It's not even really about submission. It's truly about knowing yourself well enough to be able to identify those same traits in your partner so you guys can be on one accord. Because if you are not in agreement on the pillars of your relationship, that can cause a collapse. You at least want to be on the same page in regards to the pillars and the foundation of the home. Whether or not you have green or, taupe curtains is has less of an impact on everything than the pillars. And the pillars are things like how children should be raised, the religion and perspective of the family, the structure of the family. Those things, a man and a woman need to be on one accord, because if they're not, that creates instability. So when this woman is speaking to, I agree with everything that he says, in our cases, at the very least, we should be talking about feeling that way within the pillars, within the structure and the foundation, the things that keep the relationship together and alive. You should be on the same page. Now, for her, whether or not that's through and through to anything and everything, I don't know. But for us, at the very least, you should be on the same mental accord with the agenda, the things that build the structure and the foundation of your home where your kids will know consistency. You should feel this way about the king in your life. You should agree with all of those things. You should. Ideally. And that looks like finding someone who shares your views and forging an alliance with them so you can create children with those same views. If you oppose the logic of doing so and you believe that you can just have a completely different logic to everything in life, that your partner views in a completely different manner, and still raise children who are solid about what they think, I would have to see proof of that, because I don't genuinely think, based off of if you just did this as an experiment, that children that come from parented homes with the mother and father having opposing views, I don't necessarily view those as more productive situations than if the parents had the same views and structure. I think that there is a difference. And in today's society, when it comes to relationships, for women, that structure and order is what is being rebelled against, because from our perspective, it's not serving women, when in reality, it may just do exactly what it is supposed to do, which is keep her in her feminine, allow her to tap into her joy and comfort, and in, enjoy her environment. And that's ultimately the core of women and what we want. But in a sense, over satiating women with all of these variety and options and all these different experiences might have created a scenario where your eyes are too big for your stomach. You know what I mean? And structure has to reel that in a little bit. So, but I honor her perspective as well as I honor the perspective of women that don't want these type of relationships. We've already been exposed to options now. So for the women that have been within that, or experienced being within that exposure, have developed their perspectives of what relationships look like. And unfortunately, men can't make them step backwards into the past and develop a different perspective on relationships. They will have to see purpose behind it, like it's better for their children and it's better for the harmony of the family. And if that can be effectively communicated, then maybe she'll see reason behind getting on board and getting on one accord. But our lack of being exposed to this mindset, for some of us that are already older, and perhaps did not get taught these values, they may be a little too far gone or stuck in their ways to succumb to this logic. And at this rate, we represent people having their own minds and the free thinking and choice. So for the women that don't want this life, I respect your intentions for your life, but please understand that you are also simultaneously saying that I'm not going to contribute to a society that I benefit from. And it does make you sound a little selfish, but if you can understand why and respect all of that about yourself, what can anybody else say? And for the men, you're going to have to understand that you cannot bend somebody to this logic. It has to be something that's instilled in them from a young age, or something that the woman deeply understands and identifies with, and she believes wholeheartedly that this is for the good of herself and her family. But that is nothing that you can impose on her or force on her. All you can do is explain your logic and hope that she sees the benefit in it all, because we have not all been taught the same things. Even within America in itself, we're getting exposed to different cultures every day and different ideals. So women are going to be choosing which direction that they want to go in. Hopefully they're smart enough to align themselves with someone that shares their core values, so their pillars are secure, and then they can build that longevity that they're looking for, instead of gravitating towards eating more than you can hold in your stomach and then feeling bad about the tummy ache when you knew you shouldn't have been eating sweets. You know what I mean? We have to be more disciplined about the partners that we attract, because we have to understand that that also contributes to what type of children we produce. And it has to mean something, but it can't mean something because it means something to someone else. It has to mean something to you. So that is the reason why she can be so passionate about the love for the king of her life and say that I chose him. She knows this was a conscious decision. She stands behind that decision and she believes in her decision making abilities wholeheartedly enough to say these things without feeling like it makes her a lesser being because she made the choice. She wasn't being subjected to anything. She knew the partner she wanted to have. And when that person showed himself, revealed himself to her, she gave him the best parts of her. And she is proud of that demonstration of her love for the king in her life. You can't do anything but respect that and look at yourself and say, I've asked for all these things and he should have all these things, but do I really know what I look like when a man can present those things? Do I know what happy looks like for me? And can I be this type of in love with him to fulfill these requirements because I believe in my ability to choose in a man that can fulfill me in all the ways I need to be fulfilled? And to go a little deeper into the conversation before I wrap this up, another angle is really looking at it and saying, if I can't give this level of love, this level of commitment, this level of loyalty to my husband, would I say that I'm not on board with his program? Would I say that I am rebelling against him? Because love and choosing this specific person out of all other candidates to join forces with you and combine DNA and produce lives and raise those lives, choosing this person should look like something. And I think somewhere we missed that idea that I'm going to choose you, I'm going to marry you, I'm going to have this ceremony with you, I'm going to bring life, call life through my womb for you. But that doesn't look like anything. For men, it looks like provision and providing. What does it look like for us if we're going to get the things that we require? And I can hear women saying right now, well, I'm not getting the things that I require. You have to ask yourself, why is that? And it's likely because you didn't choose an individual that could provide what you require. So what you're actually going round and round and 12 rounds with is your own decision. And he's getting hit, he's getting emasculated, he's getting demeaned, he's getting underappreciated as a symptom of your battle that you're having with yourself going round and round because you chose him, but you didn't have any intentions on following him. You didn't have intentions on listening. You didn't have intentions on respecting. And it's not about trying to talk about women. It's about saying that if you chose this man, if you said, I do, I accept your provision, what does reciprocity look like for that? It should look like giving him what he needs, right? Because in order for him to obtain you, he has to give you what you need. So you shouldn't be saying I do unless he has met that requirement, right? And then once you guys join in your union, now is your time to show him what he was proving himself to accumulate from the other party in his life. So instead of viewing this woman as somebody that has no brain and has no sense and has no this and has no that, I choose to view her as someone that has used her mind and believes wholeheartedly in what she has been taught, so much that she's convicted within it enough to demonstrate and speak out loud with loyalty, love, and passion, and express to anyone who would allow her to talk to them about what her love looks like for the man in her life, for the king in her life. And instead of looking for reasons to be combative with her, or reasons to insult her. How about you look at it from a perspective of growth and say, she looks happy. She looks completely content, soothed within her being so much she is freaking glowing. I want to be that level of happy. I want to be that level of trusting. I want to be that level of out of control and still be happy. What does she know that I don't know? And I think what she knows is choice. She knows that in order to be fully submissive and feminine to a man, she has to choose him with her whole heart, her whole mind, and not a doubt in the world. Because if she can't give him that type of love, she doesn't deserve everything that she requires in return. So she understands that love needs to look like something, regardless of what culture or background you come from. Your reciprocity for him, your respect for him, your love for him, your appreciation for him should look like something. And it should look like something like how she looks, simply describing what she is capable of and consistent with for him. You should be able to radiate that much joy and be completely happy with what you do for him, because you know this is a demonstration of your appreciation, love, and respect. And if you can't talk about it in that way and it sounds like servitude, if it sounds like you bending over backwards and going out of your way, if it sounds like a horror movie, perhaps the person you chose is not the king at all. Peace.